नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवति उत्तमं श्लोके भक्तेर्भवति नैष्टिकी। So continuing with the discussion on Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, Chapter 6, the liberation of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, text 229 onwards. So yesterday we discussed how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu transformed the heart of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and he became a devotee. And then one day when Mahaprabhu went to his house, Sarvabhauma's house in the morning, just after taking darshan of Lord Jagannath, he took some prashad. And Sarvam Bhattacharya, he just got up, hadn't even taken bath, but he started honoring Jagannath Prasad. So then they then they embraced each other, they began to dance. Shweta Kampa Shuddhuhe Anande Bhashila Prema Vishtahaya Prabhu Kahite Lagila. As they danced and embraced, spiritual symptoms manifested in their bodies. They perspired, trembled, and shed tears, and the Lord began to speak in his ecstasy. Aji mui anayase jinu tribhuvana, aji mui karinu vekuntaroham. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, today I have conquered the three worlds very easily. Today I have ascended to the spiritual world. So the goal of human perfection is stated here in brief. One has to surpass all the planetary systems of the material universe, pierce through the covering of the universe, and reach the spiritual world known as Vaikuntha Loka. The Vaikuntha Lokas are variegated spiritual planets situated in the Lord's impersonal bodily effulgence, known as Brahmjyoti. One may aspire to elevate himself to a heavenly planet within the material world, such as the moon, sun, or Venus, but if one is spiritually advanced in Krishna consciousness, he does not wish to remain within the material universe, even in a higher planetary system. Rather, he prefers to penetrate the covering of the universe and attain the spiritual world. He can then be situated in one of the Vaikuntha planets there. However, the devotees, under the guidance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, aspire to reach the topmost spiritual planet known as Golok Vrindavan, the residence of Lord Shri Krishna and his eternal associates. So Mahaprabhu said, today I have conquered the three worlds. Today I have ascended to the spiritual world. So Prabhupada said, that is the goal, that is the highest goal of human life. But we worry about and run after all the temporary material things. And that's what Prabhupada says, wastage of time, actually. Aji mora purna haila sarva abhilasha, sarvabhauma haile mahaprasade vishwasa. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued, I think that today all my desires have been fulfilled because I see that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya has acquired faith in the Mahaprasadam of Lord Jagannath. Aji tumi nishkapate haila Krishna Shreya. Krishna aji nishkapate toma haila sadaya. Indeed, today you have undoubtedly taken shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna, and Krishna, without reservation, has become very merciful towards you. Aji se khandila tomar deha dibandan, aji tumi chinna kaile mayara bandhan. My dear Bhattacharya, today you have been released from material bondage in the bodily conception of life. You have cut to pieces the shackles of the illusory energy. Aji Krishna Prapti Yogya Haila Tomar Man Veda Dharma Langi Kaile Prashada Bhakshan. Today, your mind has become fit to take shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna because, surpassing the Vedic regulative principles, you have eaten the remnants of food offered to the Lord. So, surpassing the Vedic regulative principles, which Smarta Brahmins follow very nicely. But Jagannath Prasad is beyond all that. Yesham sa esh Bhagavan dayayed ananta sarvatmanashita pado yadi nirvyalikam te dustaramati taranti cha deva mayam naisham mamaham itidhi swa shrigala bhukshe. When a person takes shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead without reservation, the unlimited, merciful Lord bestows His causeless mercy upon him. Thus, he can pass over the insurmountable ocean of nations. Those whose intelligence is fixed in the barley conception, who think, I am this body, are fit food for dogs and jackals. The Supreme Lord never bestows His mercy upon such people. So, I am this body, are fit food for dogs and jackals. Heavy. The Supreme Lord never bestows His benediction upon those fixed in the barley conception. As Krishna clearly states in Bhagavad Gita, Sarva dharmana parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. The verse that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu quoted explains the meaning of Shri Krishna's statement. Krishna bestowed his causeless mercy upon Arjuna just to get him out of the bodily conception. This was done at the very beginning of second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says, Dehinu asmin yathade. In this body there is an owner, and one should not consider the body to be the self. This is the first instruction to be assimilated by a devotee. If one is under the bodily conception, he is unable to realize his true identity and engage in the loving devotional service of the Lord. He is unable to do that because if one is in the bodily conception of life. Unless one comes to the transcendental position, he cannot expect the causeless mercy of the Supreme Lord, nor can he cross over the vast ocean of material nations. So, vast ocean of material nations or ignorance. And that ignorance, to begin with, is I'm this body. And it's so big, it's just not easy to get out of it. Lord Krishna confirms this in the Bhagavad Gita. Mame viya prapadyante maya me tantarante. Without surrendering unto the lotus feet of Krishna, one cannot expect release from the clutches of Maya. According to Srimad Bhagavatam, Mayavadi sannyasis who falsely think of themselves as liberated from the clutches of Maya are called Vimukta Manina. Actually, they are not liberated, but think they have become liberated and have become Narayan himself. Although they have apparently realized that they are not the material body, but spirit soul, they nonetheless neglect the duty of the spirit soul, which is to render service to the Supreme Lord. Thus, their intelligence remains unsanctified or impure. So it's not just enough to understand I'm not this body. It's imperative that we do this function of the soul, which is to serve the Lord. Unless one's intelligence is sanctified, one cannot apply it to understanding devotional service. Devotional service begins when the mind, intelligence, and ego are completely purified. Mayavadi sannyasis do not purify their intelligence, mind, and ego, and consequently they cannot engage in the service of the Lord or expect the causeless mercy of the Lord. Although they rise to a very high position by executing severe austerities and penances, they still hover in the material world without the benediction of the lotus feet of the Lord. Sometimes they rise to the Brahman effulgence, but because their minds are not completely purified, they must return to material existence. This is what Bhagavatam says. Aruya means when even they go to Brahm Jyoti, they have to fall down because it's not completely purified yet. The mind, the intelligence, the consciousness. The karmis are fully under the bodily conception of life, and the jnanis, although theoretically understanding that they are not the body, also have no information about the lotus feet of the Lord because they overly stress impersonalism. Consequently, both karmis and jnanis are unfit for receiving the mercy of the Lord and becoming devotees. So Narottam Das Thakur therefore says, Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, Kevala Vishera Bhat. Those who have taken to the process of Karma Kanda, fruitive activity, and Jnana Kanda, speculation on the science of transcendence, have simply eaten from poisoned herbs. They are condemned to remain in the material existence, life after life, until they take shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna. So taking shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna means taking shelter of those who have taken shelter of lotus feet of Krishna. So at the lotus feet of Krishna, just like Mahaprabhu also said in his Shikshashtakam, Ai Nanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitam Mam Vishnu Bhavam. Kripya Tava Pada Pankaja Sthita Dhuli Sadrisham Vijantaya. Means I have somehow or other fallen into this material. You please pick me up and place me as a speck of dust at your lotus feet. So means the devotees, the acharyas who have taken shelter of lotus feet of Krishna, if we take shelter of them, and taking shelter of them means to follow the instructions. That's all. Not like physically we have to cling on to the lotus feet. We just follow the instructions. Then we are taking shelter. So they are condemned to remain in material existence. I mean, karma kandis, jnana kandis, they cannot get out until they take shelter. And this is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Bahunam janamanamante jnanvan mam prapadyate. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. So nam prapadyate. Prapadya means surrenders. Etakahi Mahaprabhu Aila Nijasthane Sei Haite Bhattacharya Khandila Bhiman. After speaking to Sarvam Bhattacharya in this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu returned to his residence. From that day on, Bhattacharya was free because his false pride had been dismantled. Chaitanya Charana Vine Nahi Jane An Bhakti Vinu Shastrera Nakare Vyakhyan. From that day on, Sarvam Bhattacharya did not know anything but the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And from that day, he could explain the revealed scriptures only in accordance with the process of devotional service. So earlier he was explaining revealed scriptures in impersonal way. So now only in accordance with the process of devotion service. Gopinath Acharya Tara Vaishnavata Dekhiya Hari Hari Bali Nache Hatitali Diya. Seeing that Sarvam Bhattacharya was firmly fixed in the cult of Vaishnavism, Gopinath Acharya, his brother-in-law, began to dance, clap his hands and chant Hari Hari. The devotees are always happy to see anybody who's making progress in devotion service. Aradina Bhattacharya Aila Darshan Jagannathana Dekhi Aila Prabhusthane. The next day, the Bhattacharya went to visit the temple of Lord Jagannath. But before he reached the temple, he went to see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Dandavat kari kala bahuvidha stuti, Danya kari kahe nij purva durmati. When he met Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Bhattacharya fell down flat to offer him respects. After offering various prayers to him, he spoke of his previous bad disposition with great humility. Bhakti sadhan shreshta shunite haila man, Prabhu upadesha kaila nam sankirtan. Then the Bhattacharya asked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which item is most important in the execution of devotional service? So many times we also have this question. So many processes are given, but which is most important? The Lord replied that the most important item was the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. So that is what we have to work on. Of course, it doesn't mean other items are not important and we should not do those. We have to. But out of all this, most important is chanting of the holy names. There are 9 items to be executed in devotional service. These are enumerated in the following words from Srimad Bhagavatam. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Nivedanam. Hearing the glories of the Lord, chanting, remembering, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, offering worship in the temple, offering prayers, becoming a servant of the Lord, becoming the Lord's friend, and Sarvatma Nivedanam, offering oneself fully at the lotus feet of the Lord. These are the 9 devotional processes. In the Nectar of Devotion, these are expanded into 64 items. When Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya asked the Lord which item was most important, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately answered that the most important item is the chanting of the holy names of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. He then quoted the following words from Brihad Naradiya Puran to confirm his statement. Hare Ranam, Hare Ranam, Hare Ranam eva kevalam, kalo nastiv, 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 gatiranyatha. In this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, the only means of deliverance is the chanting of the holy names of the Lord. There is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way. Prabhupada said, because the people of this age are so fallen, they can simply chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. In this way, they can rid themselves of the bodily conception of life and become eligible to engage in the Lord's service. One cannot engage in the devotional service of the Lord without being purified of all contamination. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Yesham tantagatam papam jananam punya karma te dvandva moha nirmukta bhajante mam dridvrta. The persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, and whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, are freed from the dualities of delusion, and they engage themselves in my service with determination. So persons who have acted piously and whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, so they engage themselves in my service with determination. So it's not like you commit sinful activity and devotion service at the same time. Sometimes people are surprised to see young men and women take so seriously to the Krishna consciousness movement. By giving up sinful activity, illicit sex, meat eating, intoxication, and gambling, and strictly following the injunctions given by the spiritual master, they have become purified of all contamination. They can therefore fully engage in the devotional service of the Lord. In this age of Kali, Hari Kirtan is very, very important. The importance of chanting the holy names of the Lord is stated in the following verses. Kalera dosha nidhe rajan asti eko mahaniguna kirtana dev krishnasya mukta sangha param rajayat. And krite yadhyayato vishnum tretayam yajyato makha dvapare paricharyayam kalo tabdhari kirtanam. The most important factor in this age of Kali, which is an ocean of faults, is that one can be free from all contamination and become eligible to enter the kingdom of God simply by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. The self-realization that was achieved in the Sapta millennium by meditation, in the Treta millennium by the performance of different sacrifices, and in the Dwapar millennium by worship of Lord Krishna, can be achieved in the age of Kali simply by chanting the holy names Hare Krishna. So that is why chanting is considered the most important service. এই শ্লোকের अर्थ শুনাইলা করিয়া বিস্তার শুনি ভট্টাচার্য মনে হাইলা চমৎকার. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu very elaborately explained the Hare Nam verse of the Brihad Naradiya Puran, and Sarvam Bhattacharya was struck with wonder to hear its explanation. Gopinath Acharya bole, Ami purve ye kahil, Shuna Bhattacharya tomar saita hahil. Gopinath Acharya reminded Sarvam Bhattacharya, my dear Bhattacharya, what I foretold you has now taken place. Previously, Gopinath Acharya had informed Sarvam Bhattacharya that when he would be blessed by the Lord, he would thoroughly understand the transcendental process of devotion service. This prediction was now fulfilled. Bhattacharya was fully converted to the cult of Vaishnavism, and he was following the principles automatically without being pressured. So this is also important. When we preach, should not put pressure on anybody. Ultimately, this is the natural state of every soul, to be servant of Krishna. But when we put pressure or force anybody, bug them, then they go backward actually. So instead of enjoying it, they don't like it. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is therefore said, Swalpam apyasya dharmasya trayate mahatopya. Simply by performing a little service, little devotion service, one can escape the greatest danger. Sarvam Bhattacharya had been in the greatest danger because he had adhered to Mayavad philosophy. Somehow or other, he came into contact with Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and became a perfect devotee. In this way, he was saved from the great fall down of impersonalism. And also greatest danger, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, it's taking birth in a lower species of life, where we cannot perform devotion service. I guess I can stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments. Okay, you all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.